Do you want to be the cool mom or dad? You know, parents that are their kids' best friends. Or maybe you want to be the parent you always wanted when you were a kid. Yeah, really bad idea. I'm Dr. Margaret Cochran, and this is Wisdom, Love, and Magic. It's important for parents to have loving, supportive relationships with their children, full stop. However, that's not about giving them everything they want or pretending that you or they are someone that you're not. While it's important to be friendly with your kids, it's vital that you be their guide, compass, and mentor in life. Parenting is wonderful, but it's often not a lot of fun. Children's behavior exists on a continuum. We all dream of having the baby who sleeps through the night, feeds easily, and is happy and curious about life. And only about 40% of us have such a child. 30% of us get what's called a temperamentally slow to warm up child. This kiddo needs time to watch and adjust slowly before they participate in life activities. 10% of us have what's known as a temperamentally difficult child. So think about everything I said about the dream baby in reverse. And the rest of us have a child with a temperament located somewhere between those three discrete points I listed. Bottom line, children have different and unique combinations of needs, and it's our job as parents to meet them. Said another way, you have to parent the child you have, not the child you want to have. And not the child you were either. Your children are not you. No matter how much they may look like you or seem to think like you, they are unique beings. And when we're parenting and they're stressed, and let's be honest, the definition of good parenting is stress in one form or another, there are two things we tend to fall back on. The first go-to is what our parents did to, for, and with us. And that can be a godsend or a nightmare, depending on the kind of parenting we had as a child. The second is thinking about what we wanted when we were little. For example, we may have longed for a more permissive parent or a parent with greater social status and so forth. But none of that matters in the long run. What you have to do is pay attention to the kind of child you have and respond to their needs. Are you raising an artist when you dreamed of an athlete? You can expose them to sports, but attempting to deny or discourage their natural proclivity and talents while doing so is a recipe for disaster. You may have a child with a genius IQ. You may have a child with an average IQ. You may have a child with incredible talents of one kind or another. You may have an autistic child, a transgender child, a child with ADHD, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, learning disabilities, developmental delays, depression, anxiety, physical challenges, and even cancer, among many other things. Each child comes with their own set of challenges and gifts, and all children have special needs of one kind or another. Now, that can be somewhat overwhelming, and it may be tempting to use denial as a way to cope. I've worked with many families who've adopted that strategy to their family and children's great peril. You cannot ignore who your children are or what needs they might have. An incredibly intelligent child, for example, is not necessarily a wise child. Writing off depression as a growth phase, or ignoring talk of suicide or homicide, or insisting that the negative voices your child says she has in her head are mere fantasies, can result in suicide and get other people killed. But whatever gifts or challenges your youngster may be dealing with in childhood, be forewarned, things will definitely get sketchy in adolescence. I mean, seriously, adolescence is sketchy by definition. Your body gets weird. You suddenly realize that your dreams of adulthood and ultimate freedom are on the horizon. And it's surprisingly terrifying. And how embarrassing is that? And to top it all off, you're focused on your friends for direction and guidance, and they don't know any more than you do. So it's every bit as important in this phase of life for parents to give guidance and serve as a compass and mentor as it is in childhood, versus giving them an expensive car, the latest smartphone, and $500 athletic shoes. Your teen, despite what they may say, doesn't need you to let them have alcohol and THC-fueled parties and turn a blind eye to inappropriate sexual activity. Kids will respond to the above comments with things like, well, that's just dumb and so old school. And there are parents who will respond with, but if I don't give my kids everything they want and let them do whatever they want with whomever they want, whenever they want, they won't love me. And they'll complain that I'm ruining their lives, and they'll be laughed at by their peers. I can't do that to them. We are now living in a country with a rising tide of social narcissism in which individuals feel entitled to ridicule, degrade, and even shoot someone they don't like. Nothing is ever enough, and the belief that happiness exists outside the self is rampant. Those values and beliefs do not make for happy children, and they do not make for a functioning culture in which they can live out their lives. Your children need you to see who they are and structure and support boundaries accordingly. Get them assistance in school if they need it. Arrange for them to get psychological help and medication if necessary. Be consistent in your love, which means that you enforce rules and give consequences. And catch them being good, as I so often say. Whether the desirable choices or behavior are large or small, remind them that you're proud of them, not so much for what they do, but for who they are. Tell them that you're so glad that they are your child. And keep it real. Everything your kids do and say isn't amazing, and it isn't perfect either. Talk about dead, tired, overused, toxic hyperbole. Enough! Now, if you find you can't give consistent boundaries and direction to your children, if you're afraid of setting limits and teaching them how to stand up to peer and other societal pressures, then you're not happy or sure of yourself. And I urge you to go talk to a licensed clinician ASAP. Now, don't forget that the things we're meant to teach our children are good rules for adults to follow as well. So, use your indoor voice when appropriate, wash your hands, brush your teeth, go to bed at a sensible hour. Remember that the world does not revolve around you. Think about how your choices affect your life and the lives and feelings of others, and avoid gossip and frenemies, online or otherwise. Until next time, I'm Dr. Margaret Cochran. Be safe and be well.